Hello, this is Marcia Marie. I am here to talk about another episode of SIFT, Spiritual Inspirations in Film and Television. Today, I am going to be talking to you guys about Bad Boys 4, featuring Martin Lawrence and Will Smith. We know that this is an ongoing series. I don't want to give away too many spoilers. I just want to give you the downloaded inspirations and revelations that God gave me while watching the movie. So we start with the first point that Captain Howard is dead in movie 4. So Captain Howard of the police department, which is Martin Lawrence's and Will Smith's boss, we're going to call Martin Lawrence Marcus in the movie. He's Marcus Barnett, and Will Smith is Mike Lowry. So we come into a situation where the enemy has transferred some money, some dirty money, and have transferred it into Captain Howard's account. Now, this is considered infiltration. First of all, Captain Howard's dead, but it sparks an investigation. And this was divinely orchestrated by the enemy. So I want you to understand that be on guard in this thing called spiritual warfare, y'all. It's intentional. It is intricate. And just like God has systems and laws and organizations, so does the enemy, because he's a copycat. So remember that the enemy will infiltrate you and your namesake. So not only did they falsely put money, dirty money, into Captain Howard's account, they also are tarnishing his name, because now an investigation is being brought up that he's corrupt and he's dead. He can't even speak for himself, y'all. How many times do you feel dead in a situation where you have no say? You have no say. And then there's opposition all around. There was an FBI agent in the investigation. Now remember, he's a captain. So think of high-level leaders. Think of high-level spiritual leaders. He's a captain. So now, because this investigation is brought about, right? You now have the FBI involved. You now have not just the police department, the FBI, the U.S. Marshal, high-level entities. So I want you to pay attention to the enemy strategy. High-level entities are involved in this investigation. Now, mind you, Captain Howard is dead. I got to keep saying this to y'all. He's dead. He's not even around. He's not even in existence. So in essence, they're coming after his name, his namesake, and his legacy, right? So one of the FBI guys, as they go to try to figure out what's going on, as they try to have a debriefing to try to figure out what's going on, the FBI keeps calling Captain Howard, or the case, calling him corrupt instead of supposed, instead of the suspect at large. He literally is speaking about him as if he already knows he's corrupt. So that lets you know that the enemy will plant high-level intelligent people in your circle, in your job, in your community, in your area, so that the negative seeds can start to be planted about you, because all people need is doubt. Not even reasonable doubt anymore, just doubt. So can you imagine? This is the captain. This is the one that ran the ship for so long. And here he's gone. And now there's accusations of him being corrupt. Him have swindled money when he was alive. And this is one of his accounts that they're now recovering, right? So always remember that when the enemy infiltrates, he will infiltrate you, your namesake. He will have evil plants around. And he's not only going to come after your namesake, your legacy, your family, your position, your power, whatever it is. So one thing I love though was during this, now mind you, this is like a couple meetings here and there, but this guy just keeps calling Captain Howard, referring to Captain Howard as corrupt. And Mike steps in like, hold up, hold up. You're not going to keep talking about my man like that. You're not going to be talking about my friend like that. You're not going to talk about my boss like that. You're not going to keep talking about my pastor like that. Think of the enemy that comes and tries to speak negative seeds about somebody in a position of power or somebody that you love or value. So Mike is like, no, I'm not having it. You won't stop talking about my boy. And I mean, the boy ain't even here. So I love the fact that God will put people in your corner to defend your honor. To defend your honor when you're not there. To defend your honor when all odds points to looks like you might have done that. Remember, the enemy is crafty, y'all. Subtle. So subtle. So sneaky. Remember, he presents himself as an angel of light. So he's not going to come with darkness and horns, and especially for leaders. Remember, for this movie, I want you to think in terms of leadership. These are leaders, law enforcement, somebody that governs the land. So as believers, you govern this land, you take dominion and territory. So understand who you are so that you can start to see the tactics of the enemy. All right, let's keep going, y'all. It's good so far. Y'all liking this, right? Make sure you like and subscribe because I'm going to start going live and have some more. As SIFT is something I've been doing since, I think, 2019. I know it's been like at least 5 years when God started to give me revelations. I love movies. For those that know, I also work in TV and film, but I've had these giftings long before I started to work in the industry. So it's interesting how it comes full circle now. But we'll go again. So there was a scene where Mike had to talk to his son. Now, if those remember from part 3, Bad Boys part 3, that Mike Lowry found out he had a son. He found out he had a son from a drug lord, from the woman that he was, dealing with or whatever. So he is the one, unfortunately, that killed Captain Howard in the other episode, in the other movie. So in part 3, Captain Howard gets killed in a bust by who Mike finds out is his son, who is the son of the biggest drug lord that they're trying to catch, which was a woman. So I just want you to keep in mind the idea. So Mike wants answers now, because now it's not looking good for Cap. It was one thing to just see the money appear in the account and we know the man is gone. But now things started to come about. Remember, I told you infiltration. So the enemy will sow doubt. The enemy will sow lies. The enemy will create things to really make it look like you did this thing that he accused you of. Sometimes you're guilty, but in this particular instance, we're not talking about that. So understand that Mike is at a point where it's like, listen, I got to get answers. So if I got to go directly to the enemy, directly to the horse's mouth, whatever it is to confront or address, I need answers. So sometimes you need to be direct and get answers. Sometimes you have to go outside of the box. Now, again, this is the man that killed him. So, it's not like him and the son got a great relationship. You got a cop and that the son is in jail and the son's a criminal. So anyway, think about what is going on when they have this conversation. So Mike asked his son, which is Armando, his name is Armando in the movie, asked him, listen, was Cap dirty? Was he dealing with these drug busts that y'all were these drugs that y'all were dealing and the whole 9 yards? So Armando tells him straight up, like, no, he wasn't a part of it, but he caught on to the ones that were part of it and got greenlit. And he's like, greenlit? So he said, yeah, he was added to the list to be killed. He was like, what you mean? He got hit off your mother's hit list. That's how he got assassinated. He said, yes, but the order came from inside. And Mike couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe it. So he said, it's from inside. What do you mean? He said, that's all I could tell you. So now he's trying to go back to home base, trying to get some answers, trying to figure out some things. He comes across something, I think, where Cap sends him a message. Again, I don't want to give too many spoilers of the exact movie, just the spiritual revelations. Cap told Mike that there was a rat within the walls. And he didn't know how far or how high up or how wide they went, how many. He just knew he stumbled onto something. And he told him, basically, if you see this video, you know I'm dead, but I need you to finish the investigation that I started. He started undercover. So when you're undercover, sometimes you look like the opposition. Keep that in mind, y'all. So, mind you, Mike is finding out that Captain Howard has been doing research on this drug situation, right? For years. Finding out. Now he's finding out some stuff. And then now you realize there might be more to why he got killed. When he said that when the captain told Mike through the video that rats were within the walls, you have to keep in mind as a leader, as a person that is meant to cover others. So remember, the enemy is after systems and networks, not just individual people. But he will use the highest people or people on the highest levels and even somebody low and sneaky to bring somebody from that highest level down so that they can take over the system. Now, they may either pimp your gift or they might defile you so that it becomes corrupted. So we'll address that at another time. But keep in mind that people that wear the uniform of position. So there's people that wear the uniform of position, but they're crooked or dirty. That's your false prophets, your false preachers, your false apostles, where either wickedness in their heart has caused them to use their powers for evil, quote unquote, because the gifts are given without repentance. So remember, God doesn't change what he's already given you. So it's your choice on whether to activate it, learn about it, use it, and use it supposed to be for God's glory. But naturally, there's some that aren't for whatever reason. Lust of the eye, lust of the flesh, pride of life, pain, hurt. Sometimes these ops, I'm going to call them ops, the opposition will, search out the weakest part of you or the most vulnerable. I don't want to say weak because you're not weak, but meaning the part of you that's most vulnerable, that's most exposed, that's most naked, that's most open. And that is their stamp of attack. That is that area that they're going to get into. So keep that in mind, that there will be people in uniform positions. There will be people in these high rankings. There will be people, in these high places, and they're not for the Lord. They're just not. I hate to say it. It's warfare, y'all. And they look pretty. They look the part. They seem the part. They talk the part. We talk about counterfeits where it seems like this is it, but it's not. And it could be a person, a place, or thing, but it works on your desires. So keep in mind that those rats within walls are not for you. You really have to stay surrendered to God. And not only are they not for you, they're assassins. So they're going to come for you and the others that are connected to you. Sometimes your warfare is not about you, but who you're attached to or your calling. So be mindful, y'all. Be mindful who you work with. Be mindful who you minister with. Be mindful who you are vulnerable with, in your circles, to tell accountability or to seek guidance, because everybody isn't for you. They should be helpers and confirmations of a commune with you and God first. So you really have to learn that it's just you and God first. But just to get back to the story, understand that they're assassins. They will come for you, We already talked about infiltration. So infiltrate means to come in and dwell, but like it's almost like take over in a, I want to say, sneaky way, like into the inner workings, to filter through gradually, you know what I mean? So that you don't realize the damage, if that makes sense, or the intent, if that makes sense. All right, so these assassins are going to come for you. They're going to infiltrate you. They're going to affect your name, your namesake, people connected to you, or the things connected to you. Could even be your business. And then they'll try to assassinate you. Let's be real. The enemy does not want God's will to be done on this earth. So if you're God's kingdom vessel and instrument to carry out his will on earth, the enemy is going to do whatever he can to try to stop that. Especially if you're a leader, because if you're a leader, you're either guiding, covering, shepherding, or discipling other people. So that's more masses. That's more people that the enemy can get to just off of one person, right? Okay, so let's keep going. There was a scene where, as I said, once Mike got that video from Captain Howard, he started to pay attention and follow, the treasure hunts, so to say. So what I wanted to tell you was he had to go into like enemy territory and alliance. So, an enemy of my enemy, it becomes my friend type thing. So what you have to realize is when the enemy is around, and understand the enemy is always lurking. Always lurking. So when the enemy is around, you have to stay tuned in and plugged into God and look for the hidden messages and mysteries. So he listened to the hidden codes in the message. He realized that there was enemy inside the camp coming to take us out, coming to tarnish our name, our image, our life, our purpose, our destiny, our job, our career, our family, whatever that may look like. And then he wanted to find out the next clue or the next answer so that he can set Captain Howard free. So he goes into the club, with, again, I don't want to give too much of the movie, but he goes into the place, and talks to somebody that he utilized before to get information or whatever. So in that, understand that enemy is always around. So you have to learn how to have communication that is hidden. So when you think about the mysteries of God are hidden for those that continue to seek him, to stay in his presence, to learn who they are in him before they learn anything that they can do for him. So understand that position, understand that place, and then know that the enemy is going to try to disrupt that. The enemy is going to try to destroy that. Then there was a scene where the assassin was chasing them in vans, trying to kill them. So remember, they're trying to take you out. They don't want your voice to be heard. They don't want your face to be seen, because they don't want God's message to be brought forth. And vans, can also represent a ministry. So these are bigger ministries or bigger people in ministry that are secretly infiltrating the pure hearts and vessels of God's true kingdom servants. And they're trying to take them out. to either use their gifts because they've run out of the power because they're not connected to the source, or they're used to want to defile you. So you have to make sure that those things in your heart are constantly purified. All right, let's keep going, y'all. We're about, I guess, halfway through. So then, something happens to Marcus. I think it's in the summary, so I don't want to spoil again, but want to give just for the revelation. Something happens to Marcus. He has a spiritual awakening during this time. And Marcus is Martin Lawrence, for those that forgot. And then he gets some epiphanies. He gets some revelations. He has some dreams. He has some visions. Many times when you're on your sick bed, or you're at a near-death experience, or if you just seek God's presence daily, you will get downloads. You will get visions. You will get dreams. You will get revelations to help you understand of what might have happened before, what's going on now, or a glimpse of the future to come. So when you think about the future to come, that may come into a dream or vision. So long story short, Marcus now has this vision after this life-changing circumstance. And he comes out, refreshed, revived, ready to run on what God told him. Sometimes you gotta wait. Sometimes God will download things to you and have you work these things out and perfect these things at a smaller level. That's why you're not supposed to despise small beginnings. But he'll do that in order to build up for yourself, as well as set up the atmosphere. But oftentimes we're waiting and we're sitting in his presence and we're anxious, and he gives us the next assignment.